What if the safest place in your city turned into a nightmare? On December 30th, 2000, in Setagaya, Tokyo, the Miyazawa family lived peacefully in their suburban home. Yasuko and Mikio, along with their two children, Niina and Rei, were preparing for the New Year holidays. Neighbors described them as kind, quiet, and ordinary. But on that winter night, horror struck. The entire family of four was brutally killed inside their home. What shocked Japan was not just the crime, but the bizarre clues left behind. The Setagaya family murder became one of the country's darkest mysteries. How could someone enter a house so silently? Investigators believe the killer climbed into the bathroom window on the second floor. He first attacked Rei, the 6-year-old boy, strangling him in his sleep. Then he murdered Yasuko and Niina with a knife, stabbing them repeatedly. Finally, the father Mikio tried to fight back, but was overpowered and killed. The brutality shocked even seasoned police officers. The killer showed no mercy, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable violence. But what made the case stranger was what he did after the murders. What kind of murderer lingers at the crime scene? After killing the family, the intruder didn't flee immediately. Instead, he ate food from their fridge, used their computer, and even rested on the sofa. Evidence showed he stayed for hours, leaving behind his own clothes, footprints, and even traces of blood. Police found his DNA on items throughout the house. He even used the family's bathroom without care. It was as if the killer had no fear of being caught. This chilling behavior baffled investigators and added to the mystery. Why would a killer leave so many clues? At the scene, police recovered a knife, a sweater, and a hip bag believed to belong to the suspect. His DNA and fingerprints were everywhere, but shockingly, no match was ever found. Tests suggested he may have had mixed East Asian ancestry, possibly part Korean or Chinese. Yet even with modern databases, no one identified him. The killer's shoe prints, his unusual sand from a desert in California found in his bag, and his reckless behavior all pointed to a strange, untraceable individual. The evidence raised more questions than answers. How can a killer vanish when his DNA is known? The Setagaya family murder remains unsolved more than 2 decades later. Police interviewed thousands, tested countless DNA samples, and reviewed every possible lead, but the killer was never caught. The house still stands, abandoned as a memorial to the family. In Japan, the case is remembered as one of the most disturbing unsolved crimes in history. Every year, people gather to honor the victims and demand justice. But until the killer is identified, the world will remember the tragic, haunting mystery of the Miyazawa family. What if a simple summer job became your last day alive? In June 2000, 16-year-old Molly Bish from Massachusetts, USA, began her job as a lifeguard at Commons Pond. She was cheerful, responsible, and loved by her community. On the morning of June 27, her mother dropped her off at work. Everything looked normal, but when swimmers arrived later, the lifeguard chair was empty. Molly had vanished without a trace. Her disappearance shook the small town and became one of America's most haunting missing person cases. Who was the man watching her days before she vanished? Molly's mother reported seeing a strange man in a white car near the pond in the days leading up to her disappearance. He looked suspicious, as if observing Molly. Investigators believe this man could have been her abductor. But despite sketches and nationwide alerts, he was never identified. For years, the image of the mysterious stranger haunted the investigation. Many believed Molly's disappearance was planned, not random. The question remained, was she being stalked all along? How does a whole town unite to find one girl? After Molly went missing, one of the largest search efforts in Massachusetts history began. Police, volunteers, helicopters, and dogs scoured the woods and waters near Commons Pond. Flyers with Molly's photo spread across the United States. Her family never gave up, appearing on news shows and pleading for answers. But weeks turned into months, and months into years. Despite endless searching, there were no solid clues. The case grew cold, leaving the Bish family in painful limbo. What happens when the truth surfaces too late? In 2003, 3 years after her disappearance, Molly's remains were discovered in a remote, wooded area just miles from her home. The grim discovery devastated her family and community. Investigators confirmed it was a case of abduction and murder, but crucial evidence had already been lost to time and weather. The wooded site gave few clear answers. Molly's tragic death confirmed the worst fears, but left the most important question unanswered: who killed her? How can a case with so many clues remain unsolved? Over the years, police investigated multiple suspects, including convicted offenders who matched the profile. DNA tests were run, but no one was ever charged. Molly's story has been featured in documentaries, books, and countless true crime discussions. Her family continues to fight for justice, turning their grief into awareness campaigns about child safety and abduction prevention. Today, the killing of Molly Bish remains one of America's most heartbreaking and unsolved mysteries, a painful reminder of how quickly innocence can be stolen. What happens when a man of peace becomes the target of violence? In 2001, Gafar Okan, the police chief of Diyarbakir, Turkey, was admired for his bravery, fairness, and compassion. Unlike many in authority, he worked to build trust with the Kurdish community, earning love and respect. Citizens saw him as more than a police chief. He was a guardian of their city. Okan fought organized crime, supported youth programs, and promoted women's rights. His popularity grew quickly, making him a national figure. But his reforms also created powerful enemies. On January 24, 2001, tragedy struck. His story proves that leaders who fight for peace often carry the greatest risks. How can life change in the blink of an eye? On that cold January evening, Gafar Okan left his office with his security team. As their convoy drove through Diyarbakir, gunmen launched a sudden ambush. Armed with automatic weapons, they sprayed bullets at the vehicles. The attack was so brutal, it lasted less than a minute, but felt like eternity. Okan and 5 of his bodyguards were killed instantly. Witnesses described the terrifying sound of continuous gunfire echoing like a battlefield. The streets were filled with panic, fear, and sorrow. That night, Diyarbakir lost not just a leader, but its protector. Who ordered the killing of Gafar Okan? Immediately, investigators suspected Turkish Hezbollah, a violent Islamist group operating in the region. The ambush had the same ruthless style as their past attacks. Okan had been a strong opponent of their activities, making him a prime target. Yet, despite all the evidence, no one was ever officially convicted. The case turned into a long trail of questions without answers. For years, investigators tried to connect suspects, but every lead collapsed. This lack of justice shocked the Turkish public. To this day, the mastermind behind the assassination remains hidden. Why was Gafar Okan remembered as more than a police chief? He was a rare figure who combined strength with compassion. He launched community projects, encouraged sports, and worked to make Diyarbakir safer. Citizens trusted him because he treated them with respect, regardless of their ethnicity or background. His vision of unity set him apart from others in his position. People saw him as a bridge between communities. When he died, it was not just the end of a man, but the death of a dream of harmony. Even after his passing, his example continues to inspire new generations. Why has justice never been served? More than 2 decades later, the assassination of Gafar Okan remains an unsolved case. Every year, memorials are held in his honor, where thousands gather to remember his courage. Schools, streets, and public places now carry his name as a sign of respect. Yet the killers who carried out the brutal attack have never faced justice. The unanswered questions continue to haunt Turkey, fueling pain and anger. The death of Gafar Okan is remembered not just as a tragedy, but as a symbol of a nation's unfinished fight for truth. His absence is still felt every time people cry out for justice and peace.